We've had some good callers here. It's going to be Nate here in the 513. Nate, what's up? You are up, sir.
How's it going, Mark?
Good.
This is 1-3 at the Hard Rock.
Okay.
I'm in the small blind, 1200 effective with the main villain.
All right, so 1-3 at the Hard Rock, and you're in the small blind. Okay.
All right. +1 opens to 12.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 calls, and I 3-bet the $72.
So
And
+1
folds.
+1 opens to 12. 3 calls. Where are you on the button?
I'm in the small blind.
All right, so hero in small blind with what hand?
Ace of diamonds, king of diamonds.
Ace of diamonds, king of diamonds, and what's the effective stacks?
1200. I'm 1200 effective with the cutoff is going to be the main villain.
Oh, so you're deep. Okay, so you 3-bet to 75?
72.
72. Okay. Okay.
Right. And then the cutoff and the button call.
Cutoff and the button call. So these guys are what we would like to call double flatters, meaning they flattened initially, right? And now they're flatting your 3-bet. But the +1 guy who opened, he just folds, right?
Correct.
So it looks like the pot is maybe 230, something like that.
I got 240.
Okay. Okay, 240, ace, king of diamonds. Okay. Yep.
All right, so the flop comes out jack of clubs, 6 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds.
Jack of clubs, 6 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds. Okay, so you flop the nut flush. Draw, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yep.
I lead for 160. Cutoff calls, and the button folds.
Cutoff calls. Button folds. 160 into 240. Okay, that's a little bit on the large side. Although they're really, I mean, this is interesting, right? Because we can never really assume what people have in live poker, right? These guys are double flatted. So even now in itself, like the hand's off the rails because there really shouldn't be that much of a double flat. It's 1-3. What I would say is that it's always good to have boards where people don't really have a lot of 2-pair. Like you'd probably rather see like a board of like Jack 7 deuce where people shouldn't really have 2-pair. People shouldn't really have 2-pair on this board, but who knows if a guy's going to have 6-8 suited, Jack 6, but you've got 2 overcards. You are drawing to the nut flush. I don't know, you say that the cutoff is 1200. I'm just out of curiosity, do you remember how deep the button was though, even though he folded?
The button was maybe 600 deep.
Okay, so the reason why I asked that is because I think your bet size with a guy in here with 600 might be a little bit large. I might actually start with a little bit of a smaller bet here of 80 to 100 so that I have some stack maneuverability against one of the guys that's short. Because if you go 160 here and then like the button called, you don't really have a whole lot of stack maneuverability because the pot would bend like 116 to 240, 560. He would only have like, 340 left. Say, for example, you bet 160, cutoff folded, and then the button called, if you see what I'm saying. Whereas if you go like 80 to 100 and the cutoff folded and the button called, now the pot, would be like something like 400 and he'd have 500 left. You could even play a 2-street game with the guy with the smaller stack. But leading out here for 2/3 though, you don't really have that ability. It doesn't matter because the guy folded. It's just a thought. So cutoff calls, button folds, pot's what now, 560?
560, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So the turn brings the king of spades.
So you turn top
I
pair.
bet 350.
So you bet 350.
Yeah, and cutoff is going to call. And I guess my first question is, I felt like after this was done, this was a spot where I could probably overbet.
So he starts the turn after you made it 72 pre, and then you bet 160 on the flop, and you guys started with 1200. he starts the turn, or you have about 1K effective here on the turn, and the pot's 560. So you have 2 pot size bets left here on the turn. Jack, 6, 8, Jack of clubs, 6 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, king of spades. You have ace, king of diamonds. So you've got top with a nut flush draw. I'm just trying to kind of think about the sizing here because you have a king and because you obviously have the king of diamonds. So he can't have king X of diamonds. And also because you have a king, you are blocking king jack here too. An overbet would suggest that I would say this is sort of where you can get a little bit confusing at 1-3. Like you could make a case for an overbet, but here's the thing: your opponent would have to understand what you are doing in order to overbet. And what I mean by that is that he would have to have a clue that this is a really, really good card for your 3-bet range here as a double barrel and have to continue to defend with a jack. And I'm not sure if that's really what's going on here at 1-3. Now, in a very unbalanced way, you can overbluff here for that same reason, but I don't know if guys at 1-3 know that they're probably still supposed to be defending with jacks, maybe even to overbets here on the turn, or it's quite indifferent. So that's a little bit why I might not do that, because I wouldn't want a jack X to fold. I mean, you've got the board just absolutely annihilated here. You go to 230. I might have just bet 175 to 200. I might have taken a 1/3 sizing here or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. So he calls or what?
Yeah, he calls.
All right. So the pot, the pot's 1260 because it goes 350 call. The pot's 1260, and you guys have 600 left?
Yeah, a little bit over 600. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
So the river is the 10 of clubs. And when this card hits, I felt I kind of tanked and didn't know what size I should use right here on the river, or if I should even check. I felt like if I check, he'd jam on me for a bluff possibly.
This is really interesting. I remember this is why I picked this hand out. This is a really, really interesting river here. So it's Jack of clubs, 6 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, king of spades, 10 of clubs, and you have ace, king of diamonds here. The pot's 1260, and you have a half pot size bet left. Again, I'll go back to the fact, because you have the king of diamonds in your hand, right? He can't have the king high flush draw, right? So he can't have like a single pair of king X. Positional awareness. I know, Nate, you're also a Crush Side Poker subscriber. What can we draw from positional awareness of the flop action? I'm going to put you on the spot here. What happened on the flop?
I bet. I let out. He called.
Right.
Wait, he called with somebody behind him.
He called next to act, right? He called with he called with the button behind him. Okay. So that would suggest more strength than him necessarily just closing the action here. So I do feel like his hand should be skewed towards draws or jack X here. Now, you didn't go buck wild here on the turn. So 7-9 gets there. 7-9 gets there. If for some reason he was still holding on here with jack 10, which is now 2 pair, he can't have king, like we keep saying, he can't have king, queen of diamonds here. I guess he could have queen 10 of diamonds, but that makes, so queen 10 of diamonds would be, gutter, flush draw here, right? Turns open-ended, but misses, right? River's a 10, so he's not going to get called. I am going to give you some advice that a lot of callers, I think, are going to have to really think through here, okay? I think you have the best hand here a lot of the time. I think you do have the best. I would say maybe you've got the best hand here 60 to 70% of the time. With the composition of your hand and you having ace, king of diamonds, I think the river is a check fold. Check fold. And what I mean by that is that you check, and 70% of the time, the guy's going to check back and you're going to win. But the times that he bets, I don't think you have a profitable call. And I don't think this is a situation where you can really get called by a worse hand here, even though you know that I'm the thinnest value bettor in the world, for a half pot size bet, because I want to challenge anybody in the live chat or here with the caller having 600 left and the pot being 1260. If he jams, what hands are calling here? So that's kind of how I look at it.
Right.
Are you still with me?
Perfect sense. Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, also some people are saying queen nine. Queen nine, of course, makes a straight here too. Queen nine of diamonds makes a straight. I think this is, a really, really good example of a situation where from out of position, you have the best hand here a lot. But if you were to ask me what I would do, I would check fold to an all-in. But that doesn't mean that you don't have the best hand, and that doesn't mean that you're not going to win here a fair amount of the time. But with the distribution here of what's going on, I don't think you can get called by worse for a jam. And I think when he bets, I can't come up with a hand that's worse for value or that's a bluff here that would warrant me to be able to call, 6 into 12 here. Now, I don't know. Maybe if you check and he bets like 200 or 300, something like that. And what ended up happening here?
I went with a bet fold.
A bet fold?
Bet small.
So what did you...
300.
Hero...
He tanks.
Wait a minute. You bet half your stack?
Yeah, I did.
So what are you trying to get called by?
Queen Jack, Ace Jack.
Queen Jack, Ace Jack. Boy, that's... I guess that's pretty... you bet 350 on turn. You 3-bet pre. You bet 160 into 2 people on the flop. 350 on a king turn, and now you're betting 300 at the end. That's pretty thin. So you bet 3 into 1260, and he jammed for 600 total?
No, he didn't jam. He tanked called.
Okay. And
he had Jack 10.
Jack 10.
Jack 10 of diamonds, by the way.
Jack 10. That was the other thing that I was concerned. Again, I didn't know the answer here, but that was the other very concerning thing about that river. It brings in one of those ones where it's a kicker issue, because now we disagree. I don't think that you're really only targeting ace jack here and queen jack here. And you're losing to Jack 10. So this is a really, really good one that maybe a lot of people don't really think through, that you can have the best hand a lot on the river from up front, and the proper play is to check fold. But you might only have to check fold like 10% of the time, because it's going to go check, check. But if you can't get a better hand to call, what would have been interesting is if you had checked, what do you think would have happened?
If I would have checked, I thought if I would have checked, he was going to jam on me, regardless. Okay. But
what do you mean regardless? What do you mean regardless? What do you mean regardless? What? So say.
If he missed a draw, he would jam, or I would jam.
What draw did he miss though? What draw can he miss? 9-10. 9-10 that turns it into a bluff. That's basically turns a hand into a bluff. You have the ace king of diamonds. The reason why I say that is because he's not jamming queen jack or ace jack at the end. It's going to go check, check. Whether or not he jams jack 10, maybe, but you're losing to jack 10, right? You're losing to
Right.
7-9. You're losing to King Jack. You're losing to flop sets. You're losing to Queen 9 of diamonds. This is why this is a check fold. The only time where this would ever not be a check fold here is if someone were to say, well, the guy could have 9-10 suited and turn it into a bluff. Of course, there aren't many combos when the 10 comes at the end. If he only has 9-10 suited, which is open-ended, calling next to act and then turning that into a bluff, that, like I said, is only 3. So I think the river is a square check fold. And I do think that you value owned yourself. It's not the worst thing in the world to value own yourself, but I think this is a really interesting run out. Nate, thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you very much.